A detailed inside account of the sinking of the Russian missile cruiser Moskva has been published. It describes how the ship was overwhelmed with fire and smoke, safety systems failed, interior structures collapsed, and crewmen jumped out through portholes to save themselves. On the afternoon of the 13th of April 2022, Moskva was struck and set on fire by 2 Ukrainian Neptune missiles. A day later, the ship sank. Russian authorities said that 396 crew members had been evacuated, with 1 sailor killed and 27 missing. Dmitry Shkrebets, the father of one of the missing sailors, has compiled an extremely detailed dossier of the events that led up to the sinking and how the sinking itself took place. It includes survivors' first-hand accounts. The ship was in a very poor condition at the time. As previously reported, a February 2022 report by its captain found numerous technical deficiencies in many of the ship's systems due to an apparent lack of maintenance. These were compounded by crewing issues on the ship. Shkrebets' dossier reports that about 100 experienced contract sailors were removed from the cruiser Moskva just before the war and transferred to other duty stations. Their places were taken by 83 conscripts, like Shkrebets' son Yegor, who were formerly regarded as trainees. As well as being inexperienced and new to the ship, the conscripts were not supposed to be sent to a war zone. Despite this, Moskva repeatedly spent extended periods in Ukraine's territorial waters, most famously during the capture of Snake Island on the invasion's first day. The ship's logbook records numerous combat alerts caused by the detection of Ukrainian aircraft and incoming rocket artillery. Black Sea Fleet ships were ordered not to come within 30 kilometers of the coast, but the threat of cruise missile attacks seems to have been ignored. At the time, as the captain's technical report recorded, the ship's radar and anti-missile systems had malfunctions which reduced effectiveness. On 7th March 2022, an OSA-MA-2 air defense missile system on the starboard side had detected a probable UAV when it was only 7 kilometers away. Moskva left Sevastopol for her last mission on the 10th of April 2022. On the 12th of April, the ship was ordered to guard and defend the Odessa gas field, 140 kilometers from Odessa city and about 93 kilometers from the nearest coastline in the Odessa region. This was well within Ukrainian missile range. By midnight on the same day, Moskva had reached a point within 5 kilometers of the gas field. Despite the missile threat, it was not accompanied by any other ships, but the rescue vessel Ypron was nearby. During the morning of the 13th of April, the crew undertook exercises on board. According to Shkrebets, at 14:20 on 13 April, the ship detected incoming missiles only 4 kilometers away. This was too close for the crew to react in time, and the missiles struck Moskva at a height of 3.5 meters to 4 meters above the waterline a few seconds later, just below the upper deck. Shkrebets provides a diagram of where the missiles hit. He writes that the first missile had the most destructive effect, hitting the central part of the cruiser, compartment 8, with the galley and crew mess rooms at the epicenter of the explosion. The entire ship's crew had been scheduled to assemble in the mess room at 1400 to be told about the outcome of the exercises. But this was delayed due to the mess crew not having washed the dishes and cleaned up in time. If they had, most of the crew would likely have died. The first missile strike also badly affected the engine room and the ship's damage control post, which controlled the ship's power systems and emergency response. It exploded a short distance below and behind a Vulcan P-1000 anti-ship missile system on the upper deck. The second missile hit the stern at the junction of compartments 12 and 13, below an AK-630 anti-aircraft gun next to a torpedo tube and very close to the launcher for an S-300F Fort anti-aircraft missile system. As a result of the missile strikes, Shkrebets writes, "There was destruction, blocking and deformation of bulkheads, hatches, and doors, formation of cracks in the ship's hull structures and decks, collapse of ladders and platforms. For example, in the officers' corridor, they couldn't seal the door because it was simply torn off its hinges, which critically complicated orientation due to the lack of electric lighting, visibility, and the ability to breathe fully. The ship's main corridor was blocked by debris, preventing anyone from using it to exit the galley or mess, and the ladders in the engine room were torn off, all the way to the starboard side. The explosions rocked the ship, but the men on the upper deck and superstructure only perceived two strong and dull bangs indicating the detonation of missiles deep inside the ship's hull. Those near the impact points experienced a fiery blast. One man who was in the galley and mess hall at the time of the impact described it as a barrage of fire rushing in. I didn't even hear the explosion. Very fortunately for the crew, none of the ammunition in the weapon systems near the impact points detonated at that time. If it had, the ship would undoubtedly have sunk very quickly and taken most of the crew with it. Although the initial fire in the stern caused by the second missile was soon extinguished, the fire in the mess hall burned through most of the ship, up to compartment 3 in the bow, and most of the way to the stern, as far as compartment 14. Schrebitz writes, "Due to the large-scale destruction, collapses and deformation of the ship's structures, thick and dense smoke penetrated almost everywhere without hindrance. The decks were riddled with through cracks and fractures, which let the smoke spread." In the sector held by the 60th Mechanized Brigade, Russian forces appear to be employing a new tactic, advancing in plastic coverings, seemingly under the impression that it offers concealment even during daylight. As of early May 2025, Ukraine's 60th Mechanized Brigade remains actively engaged in frontline operations, particularly in the Donetsk region near Terny and Torsky. The brigade has successfully repelled multiple Russian assaults, utilizing FPV drones to target and destroy enemy armored vehicles, including tanks equipped with anti-drone coverings. Notably, the brigade, in coordination with the 63rd Mechanized Brigade, recently destroyed a Russian TAZ-1 Sepyok heavy flamethrower system. Additionally, they executed a strategic ambush near Terny, employing anti-tank missiles to devastate a Russian convoy, effectively halting an attempted advance. In recognition of their valor and effectiveness, the 60th Mechanized Brigade was awarded the honorary distinction for courage and bravery by President Volodymyr Zelensky on February 26, 2025. Trump shared details of his one-on-one chat with Zelensky at the Vatican. He suggested Ukraine sign a peace deal, given Russia's strength and scale. Trump also criticized Biden for the Afghanistan pullout, calling it a major leadership failure.
Yes. What were you and Zelensky talking about when you were nose to nose in the Vatican?
I was telling him that it's a very good thing if we can produce a deal that you sign it, because Russia is much bigger and much stronger. Russia is just chugging forward. It's a big, strong country. By the way, not nearly as strong as the United States, because I rebuilt our military in my first term. They gave a lot of it away in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is one of the reasons we had an incompetent president, grossly incompetent. He should have never been president. But we had a man that didn't know what the hell he was doing, and Afghanistan showed the stupidity of our leader.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.